All right, got a fun one. I've got Cliff Gray on the podcast today. If you don't know Cliff, he is probably one of the most knowledgeable hunters in the industry. I would say he's pretty quiet, but he does have a lot of content out there. And when Cliff speaks, people listen. He's someone who I know that when I want to know about elk hunting or I'll watch Cliff's videos, how tos, and they're very just direct and to the point, and you can tell they're no fluff. They're not like him trying to sell something. It's just like, hey, this is how you kill an elk, and he'll tell you how to do it. So Cliff, dude, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. It's a glorious intro too, so I thank you for that too, man.
I got a lot of respect for you, and we do have a lot of mutual friends. Cliff, I know Cliff does some stuff with Jay Scott a little bit as well. He was doing his pod a little bit, and any friend of Jay definitely want to be a friend of mine because I just I love Jay so much. Everyone who listens to this pod knows that. But yeah, dude, I wanted to have you on because you kind of have the like a really cool life, right? And I talk a lot on this podcast. Like I think I have the coolest job in the world with Tricer. I get to hunt, 100 plus days a year, travel with my family, do cool things. And you've kind of structured your life in a similar way. And I remember listening on Cody Rich's podcast. You guys talked about it a little bit, like homeschooling your kids, and you're living in different places in the world. And I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit. We can get into more stuff too, but I really just kind of wanted to break down who you are and how you got to where you are today. Like, who's Cliff Gray? What do you guys do?
Sure. Yeah, man. I can give you some color on my current lifestyle too. It's funny, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Drew. Everybody sees everybody sees the outcome,
Hmm.
of a bunch of different life choices, but they also don't see, the things that, maybe I deal with day to day that are
Hmm.
that are maybe not as appealing about my lifestyle, right? So it's not, there's always room for improvement, but I also think there's also room for transparency on like, hey, if you live this way, there's a couple little challenges too. So I'd love to talk about that stuff, but beyond that, man, I'm very grateful for where I'm at and what I'm able to do on a day-to-day basis. And I'm very much an outdoors guy, so that component of my life is very important too. So still get to hunt a lot, still get to guide a lot. I'm an obsessive spear fisherman. I don't do a whole lot of public stuff on that, but that's probably one of my like biggest passions in life, and it has been for quite a while, and then it's become more so. And I think that's some of my life decisions are specifically about that too. If I was being honest, Drew. So the short and sweet, man, is I came from a cattle ranching slash outfitting family. For a short period of time in my early 20s, I worked just in the very corporate finance world. I sold a small business in that world that me and my brother started. I sold it to him, and he's run it ever since. And I mean, we could probably talk about it for hours, but I ended up kind of haphazardly getting back into the outfitting business. And then I really thought it was going to be a hobby. And then it became my life for, the majority of my, say, like professional slash adult life has been in the outfitting world in Colorado. I had a big booking business in British Columbia for a period of time during that time also. And then kind of in a I the short of it is I because of a bunch of unique things about that business, or what at least I feel is unique, including like the huge equine part of it, the horse and mule component of it, and I had a lodge, and I had all these different moving parts in my outfitting business. I thought it was going to take me a very long time to sell it, and I actually sold it in a pretty short period of time.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, so I ran the business 1 year after I sold it. I sold it to some great people. I had a great crew. The crew that I had at that time still primarily runs it. They've expanded it a little bit, but I kind of was thrown into like, oh, okay, what do I do next? Because I had a runway, which or I thought I had a runway because it's gonna take me a while to sell it, and then I just moved on with the next stage of my life. And at that point, I started splitting my time half in the states and then half in Puerto Rico. So I spend, yeah, it just depends on the year, but 6 or 7 months in Puerto Rico, and then I come back up to the states and I do a bunch of guiding. I think I'll guide somewhere between 70 and 100 days or so here. And then by the time it starts getting cold, maybe this is like my old age or something, but I'll guide a few cow elk hunts or something in December. But for the most part, man, I'm done guiding by October 20th or so. So I guide until then, and then I head back to the Caribbean. That's the short of it. Well, I mean, I guess that's me.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's cool to hear that you've like I'm curious, like you were in the business world and that you said the finance world, is that what you're in?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And
the I was like me and my brother basically had like a proprietary trading type of investment management company at that time.
and you don't strike me as the kind of person who would love having a 9 to 5,
Yeah, no. So
right?
yeah, well, here's my thoughts on it,
Or
man.
being
Like,
tied down to it.
yeah, so my thoughts on it is I'm not I'm not as negative on like the finance corporate world as people probably think I would be. There's aspects of it, and then particularly entrepreneurship. So I had a short period of time I worked for other people, really short period of time. It I mean, for like 8 months, I worked in, like, the corporate world, and then I did my own thing with my brother, and then I worked for one of our big investors, kind of in a remote way while I started the outfitting business. So, I haven't really spent a whole lot of time working for other people, but there's things about that world that I miss in some ways. Like, there's it's crazy, intellectually stimulating. I mean, guys that I worked with, guys that I competed with were literally like quantitative. I mean, they should have been rocket scientists. They shouldn't have been
Mhm.
traders, right? So I dealt with, people who I would view as like highly intelligent, constantly, solving problems. All of those things I really liked about it. I think the big I've always liked entrepreneurship, and I'm sure you can relate to that. If you're wired like an entrepreneur, that's pretty much what you're gonna do, right? You're either gonna be an entrepreneur, you're gonna be a criminal, or like you're gonna work
It's
outside of the
obsessive, like, it's
yeah,
I tell my wife all the time, like, I'll never stop buying and building businesses, right? Like,
right,
I just can't I'm just wired to do it, right? Like, I get on the phone, like, I just had, like, an hour call with, I don't wanna say the person's name, a big influencer who's got a big media company, and I was just going over just doing business stuff with him because, like, when you're an entrepreneur, you just love it. Like,
sure,
especially when you just love, like, giving insight and trying to find a way to grow something, make something better, right? Like, it's just
right,
you can't help but do it almost. It's like you just
yeah,
naturally just start fixing things and making things better.
right, and I think dude, I think that's important because I do feel like, Drew, we're shifting into a world where if you're not interested in entrepreneurship or you like your 9 to 5, you're kind of like people view it as like a lower status thing or whatever. Dude, I mean, I guide a lot of people, Drew, that are very happy in that
Yep,
world. And
100%.
and I mean, I think there's important things that you should do if you're in that world. You should figure out how to, get paid really well for your time, get some sort of scale in your career path, like all these nitty-gritty things. But dude, I don't think that if you're wired to like that, you should not become an entrepreneur. I think that is like a trail to depression.
Oh, man, I love risk. Dude, like,
Sure.
the amount of risk I take with my company and what I do, like, would drive people crazy. A lot of guys aren't wired for that. A lot of guys are wired to be integrators, right? Have you read that book, Rocket Fuel, where it talks about, like, visionaries and
I
integrators?
haven't.
It's a good book. It's a really good book. You'd like it. But, like, a lot of people are wired to be, like, really good employees, and they really love it. They love doing numbers, love doing those things. Like, I'm not knocking it at all, right? Like, my oldest boy is gonna go to school to be a lawyer, right? Like, he wants to
Sure.
be in that world. He wants to be a lawyer, right? Um, but there is and I don't think that every person should be an entrepreneur at
Right.
all. Like, I think some people are not wired for it, right? Like, there's a lot of, suffering that has to go into being an entrepreneur, but I tell people all the time that I could always be an employee.
Sure.
Like, you're never gonna know unless you try, right? That's why I always encourage people to try it at least. I'm like, "Well, what's the worst that can happen? You quit your job, you go out and do this, you lose some money, and then you come back and get your job back again? Like, why not go and do it?" And I think that's the biggest stumbling block for some people who wanna get into entrepreneurship or wanna get to maybe a point like Cliff, where living 6 months into Puerto Rico, is they're just so afraid to start, right? And it's like, well,
Yeah,
what's the worst
sure.
that can happen? You go back to having a job again in 2 years? Like, and you're not gonna lose your house.
Yeah,
Shouldn't.
yeah, particularly when you're young and you don't have like a ton of
Yeah.
obligations. Well, and the other well, yeah, so to finish my thought on the corporate thing and then I want to hit on that, Drew. So the thing about that, dude, is like one of the biggest things for me is like structuring my life. I couldn't live in an urban environment, man. And I
Mhm.
did. Like, I lived in Dallas, I lived in New York, I lived in Manhattan, I lived in Chicago, I lived in San Francisco during that period of time. And, like, there's no way that I could do what I wanted to do in life growing up as, like, an outdoors hunting, fishing type of guy. So that was a big issue, just the structure of my life, right?
Mhm.
And, but back to your point about, trying it, what's interesting to me is that, like you said, you can try it and then you can always go back to, it's like a normal traditional career path. But the thing is it gets harder as you get older. Like, I see this amongst
Mhm.
my peers, and
The
I
more
don't want
comfortable
this.
you get,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
and I
comfy,
don't.
dude.
It's a hard one to talk about without sounding egotistical, but because I get like, I live in 2 kind of weird worlds, Drew. Like, I have my guiding in, like, a world that, I'm around a bunch of hunting guides, clients going hunting, all of that stuff. And then, due to who some of my clientele are, and then some of the folks that I'm, like, in the circle with in Puerto Rico, including my brother and that sort of thing, like, I see both of these worlds. One of which, from a societal standard, would be viewed as, like, very high status, right? Like, wealthy people, famous people, whatever. And a lot of times when I'm in conversations with those people, they kind of ask me, "Well, why have you chose this other path, like, with your whatever education background, whatever, that's not hunting related?" And the thing that's weird to me, Drew, is it's like, well, it gets to your point, like, I can always do what you do. Like, to this
Mhm.
day, man, like, I haven't traded a financial instrument in that sense. Like, I just run my personal finances
Normal
like
portfolio,
a
yeah.
normal guy. Yeah, it's all, like, indexed, like, nothing
Yeah.
fancy. But, dude, there's no doubt in my mind that next week I could go back to that world and crush it. Like, if I wanted to go get a job making $500,000 as a prop trader, I could do it next week, and I haven't done it in 10 years. But the thing is like, so I'm not worried about it, you know what I mean? It's not like I think there's this tendency for people to feel like, oh, they're giving up everything in their life if they go try something. But I also
Yeah.
realize that I've tried so many different things in life that, and maybe it's an irrational confidence, I don't know, but it's there. I don't That's my thoughts on it. I don't know if you can relate or not.
No, I can relate 100%. And, I ran my father's sheet metal company for 20 years, from 4 a.m. until 4 p.m. every single day, dealing with project managers, most weeks, 6 days a week. I had the job making a lot of money and I left that company last year, right? And I had family members calling me like, "What are you doing? This is you're
Yeah,
the heir
sure.
apparent." I'm like, "You don't understand. Like, I'm like, I have a chance to go and do something right now with Tricer and to be with my children and have this life that is just so much better than that, right? So much better than the constant work and the stresses of work. And then trust me, I have stresses today. Trust me. I mean, I'm dealing with.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you heard the terror wars going on right now. I mean, trust me, I'm dealing with stuff, right? But
Sure.
it's a different kind of stress, and it's allowed me to have a freedom where, yes, like when I left that company, I'm making less money now than I was then, but
Right.
I have so much more freedom, right, to
Sure.
do things and to go live in Hawaii for a month or take my kid to Africa with me last week and go hunting with them, right? And to go do things, and that's something to be said. Like, not even that, just like go to soccer practice, right? Or get up
Oh,
and go
yeah.
to Legoland. Like I'm able to structure my life in a way that is much more rewarding than money. Right, and
Right.
I could go work right now, and I think I've proven that with the amount of stuff I've invented in the last 2 years. I could go to any outdoors company in the country right now and go work for them. They'd gladly hire me, right? Because
Sure.
I can make you money. I can print you money. Any company I go to, I can design things for you. But man, like, there's something to be said about that freedom of not being tied down to it. And I think I'm probably getting ahead of us here with the homeschooling thing. Like, one of the most beautiful things about homeschooling my kids is I'm helping to grow kids who aren't just being molded into these employees that go into this system, right?
Right.
Right? I'm able to build these leaders who can make these decisions and not just be like. I feel like the public school system is so built to just build these like 9 to 5 employees versus these free thinking entrepreneurs or innovators or leaders, right? Like it's kind of building sheep versus building leaders. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily an entrepreneur. It's just giving somebody the ability to think outside the box. And I think that like homeschooling my kids, like I said, I brought my 11-year-old to Africa with me for 2 weeks, right?
Right.
He was sitting there with me with Eva Shockey's husband, with the owner of Half Face Blades. He was sitting there with me with the owner of Mountain Ops. We were doing missions work, and he's getting a life lesson that he would never get in school, right?
Right.
And it's like so much of the how do I put this? So much of what you learn in school really isn't applicable to life. You kind of lose the life skills side of it. And that's one of those things that I love about homeschooling as well. And I know you guys are doing the same thing. And I
Right.
have to imagine having your kids in Puerto Rico half the time and then up here, they're getting a much different experience. Are they speaking Spanish now as well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they're getting better and better at
Get
it.
better. Like they're
Yeah.
getting some life experiences that are very valuable.
Right, and what's interesting about it, dude, and I'd love to hear your perspective on it, Drew. What's amazing to me, because me and my wife like still talk about the whole homeschooling deal. We both went to public school,
Hmm.
and there's like there's still an amazing amount of cultural pressure. Like even after you hear very transparent facts about how inefficient the public school system is. When you start homeschooling, I mean, for people who are like thinking about trying it, when you start doing it, one of the things that's going to amaze you is you're going to be thinking to yourself, why are my kids done in 3 hours? Why are my
Dude,
kids
2, 3
done in
hours, bro.
two and a
They're
half hours?
done. They're
Yeah.
done.
And then it's I don't know how you were, Drew, but you're like, "Okay, well, something's missing," right? Like, and then you
Yeah.
get like you go through the standard things like, well, are they becoming like social degenerates, right? And then you realize that okay, if you make an effort at it, there's other homeschool kids around. They seem to be just kids and they got friends,
Not
you know what I
only
mean?
not only that, but your kids are socializing with adults.
Yeah, yeah,
So they're
sure.
actually so far beyond their peers, right? I
Right.
mean, like kids are junior hires are the dumb. I'm in ministry, right? Like I have a junior high group.
I
I've
got
had
you.
high school groups. Like junior high groups are the dumbest human beings in the world. Is that who you want your like teaching your kids? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, sure.
Like, dude, like your kids out there. Like I bring my boys on hunts with me. They're going to trade shows with me. They're doing things with me. They're getting conversing with me and my wife, and they're getting that level of interaction, not like kicking each other in the nuts. And these dudes still get the kick each other in the nuts stuff because we do go to a bunch of church group stuff. And we do some like co-op stuff with other families and stuff. But dude, like that whole like your kid's gonna be a dork thing. It's like, dude, I don't want my kid to be cool. Like, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
sorry,
for
dude.
sure.
Like, my kids haven't drank at all. I have phenomenal kids. Like, one kid just did 3 months in Hawaii for missionary training. Now he's in Kyrgyzstan. He's going to college. Like I thought for sure my kids were going to be dumb because I'm not the smartest dude in the world. Like I'm just a hardworking dude. It's all I am. Me and my wife barely passed high school, and we're training these kids, and now I've got these kids that one of he's freaking smart, dude. He's run
Yeah,
circles around
doing
people,
doing
and
well.
and not only is he smart, he's also leaps and bounds beyond his peers because of his work ethic that he's got from being a homeschooler.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, and just I mean, part of that's probably just the fact that there's so much more interaction with them. You know what I mean, Drew? And it's
Hmm.
like, I mean, finish my thought on it. It's the quantitative part of it too. Your kids 2 or 3 hours a day, and you're thinking like you're missing things, and then you test them, and
Hmm.
they all do fine. I mean, most homeschool kids on average do better than the broader
Hmm.
population. There's a bunch of like core, a bunch of factors in there that probably mess up that data a little bit. Like one being that parents tend to be a little more involved. Like there's all these other factors. There's probably other demographic differences or whatever, but you look at it and you're like, well, you just don't worry about it, but you're like, well, what's going on if they're only doing it for 2.5 hours, But then you can fill that in with other things. And like, dude, I haven't seen my kids in 3 weeks because I've been guiding,
Hmm.
but the flexibility of that component, and it seems like it's such a small thing, the school thing, but dude, there's stretches of the year that I will take my 7-year-old boy fishing like every day
Hmm.
for 20 days straight. And I'll take
Yep.
my daughter who likes lobster diving. I'll take her once a week lobster diving for 3 4 months. My other daughter who doesn't like any of that but likes soccer. Like I can go watch her soccer stuff every time.
I've got one of those.
Yeah, yeah. So, but
I have
dude,
one
that
daughter.
stuff
Yeah.
that stuff is only dude, I don't know how you grew up, but my parents worked their freaking butts off, man. Like
Yep.
I didn't have I mean, I love my parents, they did a good job, but I didn't have probably a tenth the amount of time with my parents that I do with my kids.
Dude, so I started working for my dad when I was 12 years old doing side jobs. He ran a sheet metal shop in town. I work every single weekend for him. Only time I saw my dad was when we worked. When I turned
Yeah,
14, I was working 85 hours a week for my dad. He started my company.
yeah,
And then during the summers, 85 hours a week, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. When I was in high school, they would pick me up from school, one of his employees at 2 o'clock, and I worked till 10 o'clock at night every day. The only
yeah,
relationship I had with my father was working. That's it. Like to this day, like it's all thing he was. We had no relationship outside of that, right?
sure.
And like now, like the freedom to be like, hey, let's go fishing or let's go ride dirt bikes or let's go do something, whatever. It's so much more important to me than like buying them whatever travel baseball. I mean, my goodness, like it's just that stuff doesn't matter. And honestly,
Right.
at the end of the day, dude, not all kids are created equally. Like your kids either dumb or smart. I mean, some kids are dumber than other kids. I'm sorry, man. Like it's not like
Oh, yeah, sure.
every kid's gonna be a rocket scientist either, right? So you can't think like, oh, if I homeschool, they're gonna be dumb. Like some kids are going to be whatever, maybe they're gonna
Yeah,
do
yeah,
construction, maybe they're gonna do and I'm not knocking construction. I think the trades are awesome. I was in the building trades for 20 years. I think it's a phenomenal career. But like you can't be afraid to that like it's I don't know where I'm gonna go with that. Like everyone, it's like with baseball. Everyone thinks their kid's gonna be like a professional baseball player now, right? And they're
right.
paying for travel baseball coaches and trainers. And it's like, dude, at the end of the day, your kid's gonna be 18 years old and probably 5'10" and not a professional baseball player,
Yeah.
right? And everyone now thinks like, oh my God, I got to get my kid into, we have to do pre-K, all these different things. And we have to get, go to this school and do these three different languages and do this stuff. And it's like, dude, at the end of the day, none of that matters. And you're going to wake up one day. It just happened to me. Your kid's gonna be 18 years old, gonna move out of the house. And you're gonna be like, man, I missed it all.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And that's my biggest fear. And I'm seeing it now, right? Like with my 18-year-old. And we didn't get we've got a ton of awesome hunts since he was a kid. I was working full time. I was working 16 hours a day up until last year when I quit.
Sure.
But man, I missed a lot of his life because I was working so much, gone all the time, just striving, chasing this like these moving goalposts. And now with my other kids, like just being able to have that time with them is so invaluable.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
man,
sure.
like you're going like people talk about time, like, oh man, I remember my kid was that age. And I'm at that age now where I'm like, holy smokes, dude, my kid's gone,
Right. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
No, I get it, man. I mean, it go I mean, even with my kids, like, having you know, I spend a lot of time with them, it's still amazing how quick it goes. But, man, the other homeschool thing I'll say, and dude, there will for sure be people who disagree with this concept, but man, I look back at my childhood, and I didn't go to I went to a high school and middle school that were pretty, like 25-30% of the kids never graduated. So it was like a mixed
Mhm.
bag, you know what I mean? But when I look back at it, man, I'm so glad that I, like, went down this black diamond ski hill of friends and didn't end up connecting with, like, the wrong
Yeah.
friends. I mean, dude, if some I mean, there's, like, individual, like, girls in high school that if they would have given me the time of day, my whole trajectory in my life would have changed, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's certain guys that if they became very good friends with me instead of the other friends I had, like, it would have changed I think I can transparently look back at it and be like, those were huge in just avoiding a bunch of things that could have destroyed my life. And the thing is, dude, with homeschool, like, if my daughters are hanging out with a kid that I don't want them to hang out with, they're not gonna hang out with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds cruel, but it is a nice aspect of it, man.
100%, dude. And honestly, like you look back at high school and like how many of those like it's like you need to have the high school, do you have the experiences like as an adult now, how many dudes from high school do you still have a very close relationship with?
Right. Yeah, yeah,
I
a
mean,
couple.
like a
Yeah,
couple, dude. And it's not even a close relationship. Like I have like maybe 3 to 5 dudes that we still text each other, every once in a while, like, oh man, I saw a picture of us and or whatever, or
sure.
hey, I'm going hunting over here. Like those relationships don't matter. Right? What matters is
Right.
creating like good adults and good human beings. And yeah, I mean, me and my wife were not great people, right? Like we were doing drugs, we were partying all the time. Like by the grace of God, we are where we are today. But like that was like, why do I want my kids to have that experience? Like, like,
Right.
why am I fighting for my kids to have that experience when I can have them with me, right? But it does take sacrifice as a parent, as a family, right? Like, my wife could work, and we choose
Sure.
not to have her work, right? We choose to make less money. We choose to live within our means. Like, we drive older cars, right? Like, I bought a 2016 van, right? I bought her a
Right.
2020 Honda Civic, not a BMW, right? Because we'd rather have that and have her the ability to homeschool than buy her the Beamer and have her have to get a job and have, do other things. It's a
Well,
life
dude,
choice
and
thing.
that
It's a life choice thing. It's a big thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly, but and that's the thing is I think in the conversation, what can get lost is I think guys can listen to this conversation, Drew, and they can be like, "Oh, well, good for Drew and Cliff because, they must be making some excessive amount of money to be able to have this lifestyle." And like you do, I think that it's not fair to say that you can't you do have to figure out a way to make an income to support
Mhm.
this, right? Like that's undeniable, and so that means you're gonna
Yep.
have to get creative and you're gonna have to figure some things out. Like there is truth to that, but I think it's overstated in the sense that a lot of it is not that. A lot of it is sacrifice of other things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you said, like my wife works all the time. I don't have as much like on the homeschool front, I don't have as much just time with my wife because we have our kids with us all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, so there's things like that for sure play into the whole deal. And then the other thing is that it's hard to do it if you have like a traditional career path. So you gotta factor that in too. But there's a bunch of sacrifices and a bunch of hassle that maybe people don't realize is there. You still
Yeah.
gotta you
Yeah. And
gotta
I
you
did
gotta
it.
deal with that.
Yeah. I did it with a traditional like career path for forever, right? Like we've homeschooled. We homeschooled
Okay.
since before it was cool, right? So we homeschooled since from kindergarten through 12th grade. Got someone to college now, right? We did it from the
Yeah.
beginning. And yeah, there is sacrifices there. Most of our sacrifices were always just older cars, dirtier
Yeah.
clothes, whatever. My wife's a big thrifter, goes to thrift shop all the time. Like we just found ways to make it work. Um, and I don't regret a minute of it. Like
Right.
I tell people all the time, I can always make money, but I can't get time back
Yeah.
with my kids. And one thing I'll tell people too, and I know this is turning into a child parenting podcast, but man, like you get so caught up in the rat race of like, dude, I gotta go buy the newest boat, the newest thing. Dude, your kid is just as stoked sitting on the side of a pond with you fishing for bluegill as he is going offshore with you on a big twin engine. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like you get so caught up in that and you forget like, you know, how much it means to them, right? Like, you go on these camping trips, right? And it's just a total nightmare. You go camping with your family, like as the dad, like it's just a nightmare from like start to finish, right? Like you're packing the car, you're doing everything, especially when they're little, right? Like you're setting everything up, the air mattresses pop, there's six kids on top of you, you're covered in mosquitoes, everything's going wrong, the stove's not working. Dude, your kids look back at that and it was like the best time of their life.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know
and
what
you're
I mean?
thinking like, "Why am I doing this?" Yeah.
Why am I doing it? And it's like enjoy those moments with them and just and I guess my point behind the whole thing is like you don't have to go and buy a fifth wheel or a giant RV. You could just go down and take a tent out and live that life.
Right.
And even though it's more simple, it's just as good, right? Like,
Well, yeah, no, I would agree, but also, Drew, like, you have to actively fight the urge to do that.
yeah.
At least I feel that way because, dude, there's like, I try to live a very like, pretty much debt-free
Hmm.
existence,
Hmm.
which if, fi and dude, I'm from the finance world, so, like, I have peers and even my own education is like, "Cliff, you're an idiot. Like, why don't you have, you know, why don't you have this sort of debt because it's tax efficient and what there's all these good like
Yeah.
logical reasons,
Money's
but
cheap.
yeah,
You
you
hear it all the
right?
time. Money's cheap, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I get it, and I'm not like naive to that, but I also realize that the whole system is built around you consuming these sort of things that kind of enslave you,
Yeah.
And
$100%.
if you want to structure your life, you have to. If I had a a big drip of payments I had to make every year, like, my transition from when I sold my outfitting business to now would be drastically different. Like, I'd be doing fine, but a lot of, like, what I enjoy in my life would not have happened. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And I think that's something that, it can like really sneak up on people, you know? And it is what it is because it's hard. Like, I'm probably not gonna have $100 million in my life because I got no like, I stay away from financial leverage. But
Yeah,
it's like, but a lot of the ways that I'm doing things in my life and the things that I think intrinsically make me happy and allow me to do some of these adventures, like, I reflect on some of the things I'm able to do, and I'm like, "Man, this is kind of pretty blessed to be able to do this kinda crap," you know? So, but
yeah.
that part of it is a big one for me, at least.
Well, you have to look at things too, like what value do you put on your time and your experiences?
Right,
You know what I mean? Like, would you rather work to get the $100 million and then never experience anything, or work to retire with a million or $2, right? Or maybe $500,000, but
right.
have had lived a full life where you experience everything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like maybe you're retired with nothing, but you experienced everything, right? And it's just there's something to be said about it. And I think we all experience it when we're out and like when you go backpacking, right? Like I'm gonna go backpack. Me and Cody Rich going bear hunting in a couple weeks. Like that's my happy place. And that's one thing I
Sure.
love about hunting, Cliff. I tell people all the time. Like one thing I love about the hunting industry is it's like the great equalizer. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You can only carry one backpack. You can
Right,
only carry a tent. You can only carry a sleeping bag. Like when you're out there, you're just out there. Nothing else matters. And man,
right.
it's like when we go out and do have those experiences. I don't know about you, but it's like, dude, I could be here forever, right? But then we come back, get sucked in that rat race again, and it's all this other stuff, and it's like, dude, look, think about how simple that life is.
Oh,
That
yeah.
life is
Yeah.
literally a backpack, a freaking rifle. It doesn't need to be the craziest. It could be a like I said. I've been the last couple of years. I've been shooting a Woodstock 30-06. Everyone's tired of me hearing about it, but I've been shooting a Woodstock bound $800 rifle last couple of years for
Sure.
every one of my hunts. Custom guns are in the safe. Like you don't. It doesn't take much to have that life,
No.
right? But
No, I
so
mean,
much of our time is spent on. I'm sorry. I'll digress in 1 minute. So much of our time is spent on like, man, I better go buy that $10,000 rifle versus
yeah,
like,
sure.
man, I better go buy that tag for $800, take a week off of work, and it cost me 3 grand. But like, there's some for some reason the $10,000 rifle is more obtainable than the $3,000 hunt because I don't know because like time I don't know time is weird I don't know.
Well, when we go hunting, and dude, I have the same experience. Like when I go hunting, when I go guiding, particularly for long periods of time, and we could get into like another discussion because I think a lack of connectivity also does it for me, and I really fear in the future of hunting that won't
It's
exist.
going Starlink, dude, is like
Yeah,
going
I
it's
mean,
going away. It's
gone,
going away
right?
quicker than we can say.
Right, which to me is a bummer, and you can get into, like, a real almost, like, woo-woo conversation about it, but one thing that when I'm disconnected, man, for a period of time or just out hunting for a period of time, like, usually when I get to, like, 7, 8, 9, 10 days, you start to realize, like, what the real construct is, right? It's not a lot of people who just get to go out and enjoy the outdoors for 3 or 4 days at a time or a couple days at a time, they think that the construct is, like, going hunting or going backpacking or being in the outdoors, and that's just like a hobby. And what you
Mhm.
realize if you're out there for a long period of time is all this other bullshit, that's the fake
Yep.
part of us as humans. The real part is when you're there and then in how simple life is, you know what I mean? And what's weird about it, I think if you've never done, like, long duration trips, you folks may have never felt it, but a lot of times once you get over the discomfort and you start to get in, like, a new you're comfortable in the day-to-day of living in your backpack tent or your wall tent if you're dragging horses around the wilderness or whatever, if you're in there long enough, you get into that groove, and that's a big part of, like, discomfort in the mountains, man. I think it's people overemphasize that it's the cold and the rain and all of that,
It's the
and they
mental.
it's the
It's the
mental.
mental, dude, for me.
Right,
But yeah.
and a lot of it is that your transition like, your everything that you do day to day shifts, you know what I mean? So your brain is like, "What's going on here? Let's go back to, like, the normal routine," you know? So you have this, like, this urge to quit and all this comes from that, but once you overcome it and you're like, "Oh, I can just keep doing this," what happens is when you come back to, like, the real world, you will get a almost it's like a sinking slash like, wanna throw up feeling. I felt it a lot in my life.
I wanna ask you about that. I was gonna talk about this. So, when I get home, I sometimes will go sleep in my yard.
Yeah.
I'll go out. I can't like, dude. Like it's weird. It's almost like you start going feral. Do
Yeah.
you have that same experience? Like, I have like
Oh,
an
yeah.
outdoor couch. I'll go out and lay on my outdoor couch and just get out of my bed. Like, and my wife's like, I don't understand. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I can't be in here right now. Like, I just like there's you almost have to go feral, dude. Do you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
that?
sure.
Do you ever feel kind of like confined when you get back?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think most of my feeling of confinement, Drew, is, like, around all this business shit I have to do, and
Mhm.
literally, like, there's part because I would I spent a lot of time in wilderness areas where I came out, like, on the same physical trail, and so I would literally like, stringing out horses, and when I hit switchbacks where it's like a defined moment in the topography because I'd hit switchbacks where I start coming down in the valley, and
Yep.
the valley is developed. So when I hit those switchbacks, I see my hunting lodge, I see the lights of the city, all of that, and that's when you get this, like, sinking feeling, right? And
Yeah.
it has nothing to do it's unrelated to the fact that, yeah, of course, I wanna see my kids, I wanna see my wife and all of that, that's different. What it but it's this feeling in your mind like, "Oh, I have to transition back to this bullshit." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that is very I feel it all I mean, dude, I feel it in airplanes flying at a, remote airstrips in, Idaho or whatever. The minute I see the city, it's like, "Oh." It's not like I'm ready to take it on, but at the same time, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, this simplicity is going to stop," you know? It's a weird feeling.
It is, man. I tell people all the time, like, you'll know I made it because I'll disappear and I'll live somewhere with, like a wood stove.
Yeah.
Right? Like my happy, like I've done like my wife obviously likes doing fancy resorts and stuff, and I am so much happier sleeping in my topper on my truck or on the ground somewhere than I am in a resort. Like I just
Sure.
I love the simplicity of it, right? I'll talk a little. This is a little bit off that note, but with like it's being a slave to things, or even like it takes a few days to kind of wind out of it, dude. I gave up Instagram, right? I took it off my phone and Facebook. I gave it. We have Luke Duesenberry. Do you know Luke Duesenberry?
The name
Uh,
sounds really
he's
familiar, man.
phenomenal. Probably the best videographer in the industry. He's phenomenal. You watch like any of the high end Go Hunt films or Leopold
Okay.
films. Luke's the guy doing them. So Luke and his wife are running my social media now. And dude, like it took me like a month to not be like stressing out, like because I was on my phone so much. I mean, probably
I
four
know.
hours a day, just like make. Now I'm like kind of like, what do I do with my time?
Yeah,
It's
dude.
so weird. I feel like I've got all this time now. I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing anything. I'm like but it's a good thing,
Tell Luke to call me, dude, because I've it's it's brutal, man. It's brutal how much time I waste on my phone when I'm connected.
bro. Hours and hours a
Oh,
day
yeah.
of just looking at you don't even realize you just open it up and you look at it. Just open it up and what am I looking at? The same thing over and over again. It's like and you get to a point where you have a lot of followers, so you get a lot of you're just looking at the same like or the same comment or it's just
Yeah,
like, oh man, it's so pointless. But like getting rid of that, like the freedom I have right now is awesome. It's only been like I said, it's been a month and a half since I did that. And I'm just now getting to a point where I'm not looking for Instagram on my phone anymore. But
sure.
it's
But how
so
do you
much more beautiful.
dude, but I
But
have to ask though, Drew, because the way I view it, and I've gone like with cycles with it, is like your Instagram is a valuable part of your business. You know what I mean?
it's the most valuable part.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
the face of it.
right. And so I mean, it sounds like you got good help, and that's the solution, right? Like
Yeah.
you get some help
Yeah,
on it.
so the only thing that we're not getting so much of now is so much access to me with, like, the everyday, the shorts and stories, right?
Right.
Stories, but what they are getting is way more high quality content out of me.
Sure.
So I'm still making a ton of content, right? Like,
Because
I'm really
you can spend time on that instead of
yeah, instead
looking
of
on
looking at my
Instagram.
phone, yes, I'm just
Yeah,
creating
yeah.
like I mean, I've got a baller camera. I actually just bought another lens, but I went to Africa. I took 600 or 700 pictures and brought it back for him. Like, here's some
Yeah,
content. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't on my
sure.
phone. I was doing that. And honestly, I'm not using my phone anymore for content. I'm using a real high end, about real Nikon Z9. I got real nice lenses, and I'm using that. And it's just been so much more freeing to do that, and then have to come back, sit on my laptop, and edit it. Edit in Lightroom or Photoshop and do that. Like I feel like it's so much more rewarding than just like being on my phone and taking a reel on my phone real quick. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah,
you're still getting the content from it, it's just more high quality. I think we're at a point right now in society where we feel like we have to have social media. We have
yeah.
to have this, right? If I'm not running it, but it's like, do I? Like I can still have my company run, but I can pay someone to do it. I can probably make
Yeah,
better
yeah.
content. Like, what is Tricer better? Is Tricer better if Drew's on his phone for hours looking at Instagram, or is Tricer better if Drew goes out and develops another tripod?
Right.
'Cause I'll
Sure.
tell you what, right now on this podcast, there's some stuff coming out that's going to blow your minds this fall, right? And
Good
it's
stuff,
happened
man.
since I got off of social media. Like, there's some stuff that's going to blow your minds this fall. We will be undisputed champs when it comes to tripods, which I know
Nice.
Cliff's not a big
Well, dude,
tripod guy,
I
but
can't even get your bipod, so
it's
I'll
coming.
start.
It's coming. Right? But like what so like really like what's more important to Tricer? Me being on Instagram or me making a
Yeah.
bitchin' bipod,
Right. Right.
right? It's
But
probably the
you
bipod.
still gotta
Yeah. Yes.
have it. Yeah.
It's
It's
a
like
necessary evil.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yep. No, I'm with you on that, dude. And it is amazing though. Like I'm sure maybe people who don't use Instagram or whatever for their business, they may not be able to relate how powerful it is at, like sucking you in,
Oh,
you
dude.
know.
That's my issue is I'm just so obsessive compulsive with everything that I can't have it on my phone. 'Cause I'll look
Yeah.
at it 4 hours. Dude, I'll have 8 hours of screen time in a day. 'Cause I'll go
Yeah.
from my emails to that, and then I go right to my emails, and it's just like, dude, like yes, it's important, but it controls me. I become a slave to it. Become a slave to Instagram or so YouTube or
Sure.
whatever it is you're doing, right? I'm just so obsessed with it. Um, but I'm finding that it's helping. I know that Lorenzo from Go Hunt, he did it. I listened to this guy, Jace. Does Gypsy Tales podcast. He does the same thing, only goes on his computer. So I have Instagram on my computer now. So like twice a
Okay.
day, I go on my computer, I look at stuff on there, check out my reels, check out what's going on. Maybe I comment a couple times or like some stuff people said, like someone commented on my Africa post today. This guy was with him. I was like, "Oh yeah, man, that was great
Yeah,
talking with you."
sure.
I replied on my computer, turned it off. No one's gonna die if I do that again tomorrow,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Like if it
no.
waits 24 hours, right? It's like, and that's the thing is I'm still interacting on Facebook and Instagram, but it's through my MacBook. I have to walk back to my office, open it up, go to the app,
Right.
do it. I can't just do it on my phone right there and sit there and scroll, right? And like, how much more present can I be for my kids if I'm doing that?
Right. Well, and the thing is, I think that the reality is, dude, is you're interacting with it the exact way that they don't want you to interact with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing. So everything is built around not that, like getting you to scroll the thing for 7 or 8 hours a day.
Dude, they want you to. They want because you
Oh
you
yeah,
never go on there and don't flip down.
yeah, yeah. Of
Every
course.
time you get on there, you flip down a little bit, right? And you see what's going
Yeah,
on. This guy's doing this, and you click on his thing, and another one, and just like, you're like,
yeah.
what the heck? Did you ever go on like YouTube and all of a sudden you're watching like videos of like guys in the Middle East like making clocks?
Yeah, well, yes, shit like that all the time,
Dude,
man.
all the
You
time I
know?
get sucked into like something like that, like some randomly stupid thing, and I'm like, how did I just watch 2 hours of a guy beating a clock out of molten metal over a tire in India, whatever,
Right,
but
right.
I get sucked into that stuff.
I think that rolls back we were talking about it before the podcast, man, like, who's watching your content?
Hmm.
It rolls back to that because you can kind of like, I've inadvertently created content that I actually thought was, like, how-to content, but it turned out it was, like, brain dead content, and it goes viral, but the people who are watching it, they're just watching it as, like, a time like, "Oh, it's cool that look at this guy pull this skull plate off of a bull elk." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's like a billion people in China that think that's interesting, right?
yeah.
But
They're like,
so they
do you know how much we can get for those horns over here,
yeah,
dude?
but you know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's like it's weird because I think about it as like a creator, and I'm sure it's kind of limited some of my growth a little bit because I think about this all the time and maybe to a fault, but it's like, dude, I haven't created any value if just a bunch of people are scrolling through my thing and they have no intention of ever going elk or deer hunting or whatever, but they just think it's cool that, I'm this is it's kind of like a novelty thing they watch for 30 seconds and then move on. You know what I mean?
Dude,
So it's kind
I
of an
think
interesting
of
world.
you of like a Ron Spoomer type guy or like a Joseph von Benedict. Like you guys are like those are like kind of the guys who if I want knowledge, Jay Scott, like there's guys who when I want knowledge, I'm gonna watch something that Cliff Gray put out. Like, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
your stuff
Well,
is
yeah.
great, dude. Like, I
Shoot
like,
for.
I don't I'm not a big fan of, like, just slap dicks on Instagram or YouTube, but, like, I do love, like, stuff that, like Joseph Von Benedict's coming on in the morning, right, to do a pod with me, talk
Okay.
tons. Like, I just like, I love that kinda stuff where it's just like, it might not even be, like, no offense, it might be a little more dry. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure it
you're
is,
not out
dude.
there like, "Woo!" You're like, so you're just like, "This is the bread and butter of how you do this," and,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No.
I that's what I love about you and your content. You've got a pretty good following, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I gotta. I mean, I like I said, I told you before, like I don't have like the biggest following in the world, but it's big enough, and it keeps me busy, and I tried to key in on like attracting the right type of follow, like guys that actually want to consume the content. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
But
I mean,
it's hard.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just think, like, with your stuff, like, if I were to be like, I learned how to hunt from listening to Randy Newberg, Jay Scott. Like, I didn't start big game hunting until 2014,
Oh,
and,
cool.
like, I'm adult onset, right? And, like, listening to guys like Cody Nelson and those guys, like, I think your stuff is someone like, if you're a new hunter, like, you can go look up Cliff Gray and learn how to hunt.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, and dude, I mean, you can cut off a lot of time. You know what I mean? And learn a lot. I mean, the thing is, Drew, is like it's kinda like I model it on things that I do in my life. Like, dude,
Mhm.
I watch a lot of YouTube, and none of it is it's funny because I have some clients that are, like, some of the most famous YouTubers on earth, and their stuff I would never, ever, ever watch. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because it's not, like, anything against them, it's just, like, I have no interest in it, but, like, all my YouTube stuff is how-to crap related to some interests, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's if somebody asked me, what are your big influences on the content you created? None of them would be hunters. They'd all be like spear fishermen that I watch. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so I for sure copy the content that I consume. So that's the model I use. You
Yeah,
know?
that's innovation, man. Like, I'm reading a book right now called How Innovation Works. I'm gonna do a podcast with Cody Rich on it, and that's how innovation works. Is you kind of just grow on what they're
Sure.
doing. It's not even copying. It's just like, hey, this guy does this. I'm gonna take that and make it my own somehow, and kind of make Cliff Gray's stuff right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of funny too. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't watch. I almost never listen to hunting podcasts anymore, and I don't watch a
Right.
lot of hunting content anymore because I'm so entrenched in it all the time. Like, I'm very into like moto, so I'll watch a lot of moto content or
Okay.
photography content, but I don't watch a lot of, like, hunting stuff anymore because, like, I'm constantly filming a film or constantly working on my content. It's like, "Oh, I'm burnt out on it," you know? I wanna
Sure.
do so I look at other stuff. And, cool, I guess we'll transition to the spearfishing thing. Are you in Puerto Rico, is that, pole spear only, or is that spear guns down there as well?
Yes, you can use both in Puerto Rico.
Are you using Gatku yet? Pole spears?
Yeah, no, I use, I have a client who makes me pole spears. He
Oh,
makes,
do
like,
you
custom pole spears, man, and I freaking horrible because I can't remember the name of his brand. So
one of
I
my
I
best friends owns Gatku.
okay,
Do you
gotcha.
familiar Are you familiar with Gatku?
Yeah, yeah, sure,
They're
mhm.
right here in El Cajon. I mean, a mile from my
Oh, okay,
house. Yeah, it is right here. So
cool.
I mean, if you're already running one, I was gonna say I should get you hooked up with them because he makes what he calls them the Ferrari of pole spears, right? They
Yeah,
make
good. Yep.
really good pole spears. So spearfishing, man, like I do it a little bit 'cause I'm from San Diego. Like, I'm going to Bay of LA here in a couple months.
Okay.
Actually, I'll probably ask if you want to go on that trip with us because Brian called us backed out this morning.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to go
I
to if you want to go
if
to
I
Bay
can
of
do
LA
it,
and go
man.
fishing. We're gonna go fishing, dude. We're gonna go down. If you know what Bay of LA is?
Where is it?
So it is like 8 hours south the border on the Sea of Cortez side.
Oh, okay,
Small fishing town. I mean, like dirt floor type town.
sure.
And you go out in pongas and just slay the yellowtail. And you're catching them
Oh,
like
okay.
it's not top water. It's like 300-foot deep yellowtail.
Huh,
And you're bringing up 50 pounders, dude. It's like by the time you get to your fifth yellow, like your third yellowtail, you're done. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like big groupers, it's just beautiful. But the spear fishing is phenomenal.
sure.
So, I'll
Yeah,
bug you,
yeah, no,
see if I can get you down on that.
you have to shoot me the dates. You're talking yellowtail or are you talking yellowfin?
Yellowtail. Yellowtail
Yellowtail.
on the
Yeah,
Cortez side. Yeah, they don't have yellowfin up
yeah,
there. They've
yeah.
got, they have some Dorado, yellowfin, and then a ton of, like, grouper, red snapper, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I got you.
Just that stuff, bottom fish stuff, makos. But dude, so you're super into the pole spears thing, huh? No shark fears. Every time I'm in the water, I think I'm getting eaten by a shark every single time. I was in Hawaii for a month. Every time I got in the water, I just feel like I'm getting eaten
Yeah,
by a
so
tiger.
Yeah, so we do pole spear a little bit on the reefs, but
Mhm.
probably most of my diving now is like blue water stuff with spear guns. And we interact with sharks every time, you
Every
know?
time.
Yeah, which I think is it's just like it's like anything else, man. Well, I think it's very similar to a lot of things that you get reps at it and then you probably become irrationally comfortable
A
with
little
it, and
jaded to it, yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, and you maybe you become a little too, like, not cautious about it, and then you go through a phase where things happen, and then you become, like, back to a steady state of, like, knowing when they're dangerous and not, like, making good decisions around them. But we interact with them all the time, and I think that, if you've spearfished a little bit, you've felt it. To me personally, I think there's an enormous amount of crossover between spearfishing and hunting. I think that like lifelong spearfishermen who have never land-based hunted, they actually tend to have an instinct about hunting that land-only hunters never get. And it's all like the woo-woo stuff, Drew. Like any spearfisherman know, like, dude, I can look at a shark in general and know, like, if he's gonna be a problem the minute he shows up. You know what I mean? Just by, like, his body language and those sort of things. Like, the old, like, cliche one, if you do any spearfishing, is 100% your intentions to kill something, your eye contact, things like that, matter a ton, like, a ton. And they I think they matter a lot with archery elk hunting and like close quarter hunting. I think they matter a lot, but we don't pick it up as much as spear fishermen do. And it probably has to do with the fact that we're in a when you're in the water, you're in a substrate that's literally connecting you with the animal. You know what I mean? So I think
Mhm.
there's that component we don't have on land based stuff, but it's a real thing. That people I think sometimes is a myth, but for sure that it's a like your intentions reverberate to the animal you're hunting for sure.
Oh, yeah, dude, if you I could go snorkeling in Hawaii all day long and be next to fish. You
Oh
put a
yeah,
spear in my hand,
sure.
they disappear. Like, they don't get that you get within 15 feet of them. They just know, they can, like, sense it. They can I don't know how to describe it other than they could sense that you're there to kill them at that point
Oh yeah,
versus
yep.
swim with them and look at them and check them out. Are you
Yeah,
guys
dude. And
doing or any, like, blue water stuff over here on the Pacific side? Like, doing any of the big bluefins or anything?
dude, I haven't. I've been invited. I've actually talked to Beto about it.
Have you?
Um,
He was with us down there. That's what I was gonna say. You should go with
okay.
Beto, dude, and like go out with that guy because that guy's a freaking psycho, man. He'd be awesome. He's aw-
Yeah, no, I gotta take him up on it, man. And just get something on the calendar. I'm sure you're the same way, Drew. The problem is like I call it the Hemingway complex, right? Like you get where if you have a couple like once you get into a couple hobbies in the
Mhm.
hunting world, you start to realize like, oh, this can like consume your life.
Oh
Because
yeah.
dude, there's so many and we talked about a little bit before the podcast, like people are so elk hunting centric and I love elk hunting, but dude, there's like 15 other adventures that are just as epic, if not more,
I
that are
couldn't even
readily
imagine
available.
waterfowl hunting anymore. I'm like,
Yeah,
how would I ever do that? Like, but like if I did, it would be so or even like upland. I upland hunt a little bit. I might do like 10 days a year or something. I'll get out for a couple of days in next January, but it's like it's just you just don't have time for it. Like you get
right.
consumes right. These other things consume you. Like all I want to do is glass for animals.
Sure.
Like, if I can get behind a tripod and look for animals, like, I don't wanna do it, and it's just kinda like it consumes you, right? I can see the same thing happening with, like, pole spear fishing and stuff and or spear gun fishing. I know Beto, if you guys don't know who we're talking about, this is Beto from, is Andrew Alboreto? He owns Half Lace Blades, Navy SEAL. The guy is wild. I just spent 2 weeks with him in Africa.
Sure.
He's just an absolute killer. He killed everything he saw down there, and I think he left from Africa to go to New Zealand to go hunting and kill more stuff.
Oh, okay,
The
cool.
guy's an absolute killer, but he's a big spear gun guy, a big spearfishing guy. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to deep water bluefin, what you'll do is we have these big bluefin off of California right now, and we get like these big 200-pound cows, and it's called a cyclone. And from what I understand is you will get in the water and you'll chum them up, and then you'll even like sometimes drop like a spoon or like a fork out of your pocket, and then like these fish will start cycloning you, and you're in the middle of this like tornado of fish you're fishing for them.
Sure.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, no, and there's like yeah, I mean, you can chum them and use flashers and that sort of thing,
Yep.
or you can jump into bait balls. Like I haven't done the Pacific Coast stuff, but I went to I've been to like we do some of that in Puerto Rico. A lot of what we do in Puerto Rico is we chum stuff up, and that's
Mhm.
why we interact with sharks quite often. And then we use flashers, particularly like wahoo fishing. It's like very flasher based. You can
Mhm.
like there's a lot of technique to it. Like you can literally walk fish to another guy with like a PVC pipe that has, flasher material wrapped on it. So there's like all this strategy to it, which is fun. But the tuna deal I've done in Panama, like jumping onto bait balls, which is like a totally different, like literally being in the middle of like nowhere, finding dolphins, finding bait balls, and then
Mhm.
jumping in like off a moving boat and just being looking around, being like, holy shit, So like anything, dude, there's 1,000 different ways to do it, and there's like 1,000 different types of guys doing it too, you know?
Yeah, I haven't got super into it. I know that when we go to, Mexico, we'll bring some spears with us, probably some pole spears. Our buddy will bring his spear guns. I'm sure if you went, but like the afternoons are fully wide open for spear fishing, doing stuff
Sure.
like that. And yeah, it's one of those things I haven't got super into. And I'm also not the best like swimmer, right? Like I
Right.
swim, I can surf, I can do that stuff. Like I'm not going to drown, but like there's something to be said about being able to dive down, hold your breath for that long. Like it's such a more it's like we weren't meant to do it, right? That's the
Right.
cool thing about the ocean is like I can go walk through the woods and find an elk, but,
Right.
like, when you're in the water, like, you weren't meant to be down there. Like, right? Like, you're in their element. Like, you're so out of your element. Like, there's something about it
Sure.
that's really, like, real.
Yeah, I mean, there's that component of it, man. Like, I think like I would push back a little bit, like as I've gotten more into it. I think we're probably obviously we can't hold our breath underwater, so there's that component of it. But a human's capability to hunt underwater is really pretty astonishing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Based on, you know, a bunch of things if you get into it, you'll kind of learn. Like like probably if I had you hold your breath right now, I was like, hey Drew, hold your breath. Probably at 1 minute, you're gonna be like, and you're like,
Mhm.
"Holy shit, I held my breath pretty long." And then if I sat here and we did, a few things for 4 or 5 hours, I bet you money you could hold your breath for 3.5 minutes, if not more. Just
Really?
just in that short period of time. And so it is amazing what you can do. I think that's one of the unique things about spearfishing, and it's for sure one of the challenges too, is you gotta get over that component of it. And, the other reality is, dude, and I the more I get into like some of maybe the more risky elements of it is just like you do. Like I got a family and I got like a lot to stay alive for. And spearfishing is inherently dangerous, like really dangerous.
Yeah.
Um, part of that's physiological. Part of it is like the Wild West in a lot of ways, and it's sometimes I think it's probably like, that the analogy I would use, man, is I think in the spearfishing world, like, when you read old Hemingway books or what's his name? Rourke books, like, where they're hunting lions in, like, a free range sense in Africa and hunting, rhinos and elephants and all of that, like, day to day, and it's, like, a totally different world that exists is very limited now. That's how spearfishing is right now, particularly,
Yeah.
like, big blue water spearfishing, like, you could die at no fault of your own. There's a bunch of risks that would be the fault of your own, but there's reasons you could die that just are a roll of the dice. So you gotta I personally debate that all the time. You know what I mean?
Isn't it funny that the more of a chance you have to die, the more you feel alive,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
right? Like, it's
Yeah.
like, I love the fact that I'm gonna be in grizzly country a couple times this year. I'll probably spend, 20 days in grizzly country, right? And, like, it's like I love that. Like, you're more alive in that sense than if you're not, right? Like,
Oh
there's something
yeah.
about it.
Sure.
There's something about it that's just different and cool. Man, what a fun pod, dude. We always end with a hunting story. You got a hunting story for us? It could be a fishing. Why don't you give us a freaking spear fishing story, dude?
Spearfishing story?
Yeah.
Um Dude, I'll tell you it's not really like a story with a punchline, but I'll tell you about this Panama deal, which I think is interesting, man. So I got convinced to go down to Panama to blue water spearfish for big yellowfin tuna.
Mhm.
And how they do it was a mystery to me. I knew they like jumped into bait balls, but it's crazy, dude. So we flew down into Panama City, then we took a sailboat like for it's basically a couple days away from, the city. So you're in the middle of nowhere.
On a sailboat.
Yeah, on a sailboat.
Oh, gotcha.
And then we had another boat. We were living on the sailboat, and then we had another boat that we would go fish off of.
Like a jump off. Okay.
Yeah. But what's cool about it is you're out there drifting around and you run into these boats. And they call these boats artisanal longliners. And man, they're like, when you roll up on them, Drew, these guys are like from back in time, man. They're wooden boats. Like I think there's a couple pictures on my Instagram. They're wooden boats, guys living on them that are from a totally different world, man.
Old man
Like
in the sea.
yeah, they get on those boats and they don't go back home until that boat is full of tuna. And like when you see them, they look like modern day pirate ships, man. And like they have wooden decks on them, and literally the decks are stained black with tuna blood.
It's
You know what
awesome.
I mean? Like it's just, and they got all their long line hooks, and and it's what's wild is they have these big flags that are buoys, and they have a black flag on them, so it looks like it has this pirate vibe. And what they do is when they throw their long lines out, they drop those buoys so they can come back and get them. But these boats are just like something out of like a, a Pirates of the Caribbean movie or whatever. But anyways, you roll up on them, and a lot of times, they don't. I mean, they're kind of. I feel like just as surprised to see you as you are of them because we're in the middle of freaking nowhere. Like, they haven't seen any other boats in a long time. And sometimes they don't want you around at all. Other times they're just happy to see somebody, and you start talking to them, and essentially you're asking them if you can dive on the boat, like you can dive under their boat. And when we first did this, I'm like, why are we doing this? Because one, you feel like there's a lot of danger to it. Because
Mhm.
these guys are, when tuna come up, they don't screw around. Like they chuck their long lines out. I mean, they're doing it for a living. But what's crazy is you see that they're dragging logs, like just huge, they might have a 40-foot log they're dragging on the boat. And it turns out what they do is they go around the sea, they find these logs floating. And if anybody's done any fishing, they know that like that structure holds a bunch of bait.
Kelp patties. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We
anything. Kelp
we fish
patty.
kelp patties in Southern
Yeah.
California. We look for kelp patties. You find kelp patty, you're gonna find fish.
Yep, and you could find a refrigerator floating out
Mhm.
there in the
100%.
ocean, jump under it, and there's gonna be bait under it. So what these guys do is they collect all this crap and they drag it around with chains, and they have a big bait ball under the boat, and then on that bait, you have like your little bait, right? And then under that, you have, and I think I have a picture on my Instagram too. Like these boats will have 10,000 bonita like fall in them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And you don't know it's there until you jump into the water. They're just falling these boats. And what they do is when they run into dolphin and birds starting to like boil, they know that the big tuna are coming up, like they're coming up from the bottom. And these
Mhm.
guys, given their equipment and everything, they can't long line the tuna with like real long lines. These lines are only like 10 feet in the water.
Mhm.
And they're big tuna. They're like the ones they're not bluefin. They're a different species, but they're
Still
still
big, dude.
150,
Yellowfin are
200, 300
giants.
pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're big. So they're waiting for these fish to come up. And what they do is when they know that some are starting to pop, what they do is you'll see them, they rev their engines. So they have two, have giant diesel engines on these boats, and they hit those engines and the bait runs off of the boat. And
To the
then
sides.
the tuna go berserk because the bait leaves the structure. And
Mhm.
so the tuna come up, and that's when you jump in. Like you roll up in the boat and you hop out with your spear gun, and you just immediately dive. And it's like diving through. It's weird because there's a thermocline, so it's like really dark. And you dive through it, and there's jellyfish and shit everywhere. And then it's just like a wall of these bonita, and you just hope one of the big. And then there'll be bonita and dolphin swimming through it, and you just hope one of these giant tuna come through, and then you shoot it. And it's like it's freaking crazy, man. And then, and then of course at this time, the longliners are chucking hooks out too,
Yeah,
because
because
they.
longline, they're not even using a reel, right? They're just dropping, pulling, or are they?
No, no, so what they're doing, so they actually drop hooks off on a buoy.
Okay.
So they're
Okay.
just like dropping their stuff, but
Oh, the
it's.
long. Oh, I got you. I got you.
Yeah, so that it's I mean, it's really like it's a crazy thing, and I'd love to meet the guy who figured out that style of spearfishing first, because guaranteed he was not a normal dude. You know what I mean?
Yep. But dude, like that is a great way to cap this off, Cliff, because we started this thing out with like talking about how to live a life where you can have these adventures. And like, dude, you're diving under modern day pirate ships in Panama. And you've done that by creating a life that wasn't necessarily focused on money, it was focused on experience, focused on living your best life. And that's very respectable, Cliff. Cliff, dude, where can we find you?
Yeah, so my website's pursuitwithcliff.com. I do a bunch of hunts and trips that are geared around, for the most part, getting like late onset hunters into the hunting world. I do a spearfishing one down in Puerto Rico with a guy down there that I'm very good friends with and have dove a bunch with. And that's the best place to follow me. And then YouTube is just my name, Cliff Gray, and then my Instagram's Cliff Gry. So yeah, man, those are the places to follow me.
That's awesome, dude. Go give Cliff a follow. You will learn a lot. Cliff, I appreciate you so much coming on the pod, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.